You took out a legal pad and wrote 4 pages to her as to why the profession needed more women in positions of lawyers, judges, and leadership. Have things changed since you wrote that letter? Are they better?
She's a lawyer now, isn't she?
Well, she is.
So they have changed. I mean, clearly they've changed. Have they changed enough? No. I mean, come on. Everybody knows they haven't changed enough, really, if you will admit it. I sometimes can't sleep, and I'm still a little bit jet-lagged, kind of. So I was listening to a TED Talk. I didn't know you were on it, or I would have listened to yours, Hank. But thank you. But I was listening to Sharon, I'm sorry, her last name is blanking, but the one who wrote Lean In, thank you, Sandberg. And she was giving out statistics about the percentage of women who are on boards, who run countries, who are in parliament, who are in the Congress. And I mean, the mentality cannot be, well, there was a group of Fortune 500 board members, companies, presidents, whatever they were, and they were listening to a conversation about having women on their boards or whatever, and how important it was. And one guy got up and said, well, we had a woman on our board, but she died. And that doesn't really cut it, guys. I mean, one is not enough. And so, I mean, are we even, Stephen? No, we're not. And we're never going to be until we, as a society, begin to redefine the roles, I think. I mean, this is just what I think. I don't know. I mean, but it seems to me that we've got to redefine the roles of responsibility for raising families, and we haven't done that yet. I mean, to this day, I cannot believe it yet, but to this day, there are people who are playing the roles that they perceive to have been assigned, you know, where the guy doesn't have to do anything in terms of actual helping with raising children, but be a breadwinner, and that's kind of it. And that just doesn't work. There's got to be some kind of accommodation, and society has to accommodate. I think so. Society has to accommodate this in some way so that partnership tracks accommodate for women and for taking care of the family responsibilities in a way that's fair. I don't know how. It's not an easy thing. Don't misunderstand me and think that I'm being very glib about this, because it is difficult. I understand that. I understand the difficulties involved in it, but I really think we ought to have a societal conversation about this, because it isn't even yet, and until everybody gets represented and has a voice, we're never going to have equality. I mean, we don't have, our Constitution was passed and women didn't have the votes, blacks didn't have the votes, and why was that? Was that because men hated women and hated, well, maybe they did hate, they had slaves, and that was a whole separate thing, but it was mostly because they weren't represented at the table. If women had been there, it would have been a different outcome. So participation is like hugely important. And so I don't think we're there. And I say we, not because I'm a woman. I mean, we as a society aren't there where there's equality across the board. But, you know, you have to keep working at it.
So you come from Mexico and spend 8 years in a convent. And not long afterwards, you're in New York trying to get to the airport.
Oh, no, don't make me tell that story.
Oh, they got to hear that story. Go ahead.
You guys are going to think like I'm a total idiot, and then you're going to take the award away or something. Told Hank the story once about I had left the.
You're going to regret it now, so go ahead.
I know it. I shouldn't have told. It's not wonderful. It's a stupid story, but I will tell it. I had left the convent about 3 months before flying overseas to meet my sister to get a job with the Defense Department. And I had taken Icelandic Air or something like that, which I flew from Miami to New York, and then had like 10 hours to wait for the flight out to go overseas. And so I asked the stewardess what to do in New York. She said, you can take a bus or I forget, subway or something, go to the, you can go to a mall and there's a movie theater there, you can watch a movie. I said, okay. And you have to understand, I had been in the convent for 8 years. People are wonderful to nuns. They nod and they give you their seats in buses and they are very sweet, and you just acknowledge it, and everybody loves everybody, or so it seems to you. So I was in the movie theater. I left the movie theater. From the upstairs, I went downstairs and I saw I saw a gentleman who was coming upstairs, and he looked at me and I looked directly at him and nodded, hello. And he said hello. And then I went to buy some candy and he was all of a sudden there and said, oh, are you from New York? I said, no, I'm going to Europe, but I'm here killing time. And I have to go back to the airport to catch my flight tonight. And he said, I'm trying to wait till the traffic dies down. Actually, the airport is on my way. How about if I give you a ride? And I said, how very nice. I thought it was the sweetest thing. So I said, that would be so nice. Are you sure it's not out of you? No, it's not out of my way. Okay. So he pulls his Cadillac around. I remember it was a Cadillac. I got in the Cadillac. We start to the airport and we pass Central Park, and he says, have you ever been to Central Park? And I said, no. He said, well, you should see Central Park while you're here. We have plenty of time. I said, okay. So we stop, we walk around Central Park. There's a bench. We have a seat, okay. And of course, and I said, what are you doing? He said, oh, come on. I said, come on what? He said, well, what did you think you were doing when you said hello? I said, I was saying hello. What are you talking about? And he said, don't give me that. He said, where have you been, in a convent? That is a true story. And I said, how did you know? He said, what are you talking about? I said, how did you know I was in the convent? He said, you were in the convent? I think that dampened his amorous thoughts at the time. And I said, yes, up until about 3 months ago. He said, oh my God. So then he proceeded to tell me that he had grown up in a very religious, Orthodox Jewish family, and his mother, he talked to me about his mother. We had a wonderful time talking about religion, and he took me to the airport. I had always been taught that God takes care of fools and drunks. I wasn't a drunk, but I guess I was a fool. I'm sorry.
Are you up for some questions from out there?
Indeed.
I can't see
As
through the
you can
lights
tell.
if there is anybody raising their hands.
My cousin kept giving me scotch, so I'm ready for questions.
I see a hand. I just cannot.
See if we get a microphone.
I won't believe that you're a Chris Christopherson fan unless you can recite at least the first 2 verses of Me and Bobby McGee. Or better still, sing them.
You gonna come up here and help me, Jack?
I can't help you.
Somebody here has to be able to help me. Rick won't, will you, Rick? Come on, no guts, no glory. Somebody can. Busted flat in Baton Rouge, heading for the train, feeling nearly faded as my jeans. Bobby thumbed a diesel down just before it rained, took me all the way to New Orleans. I took my harpoon out of my dirty red bandana and was blowing sad while Bobby sang the blues. With them windshield wipers slapping time and Bobby flapping hands, they song a old song that driver knew. Freedom's not easy land, but nothing left to lose. Freedom ain't worth nothing, but it's free. Feeling good was easy, Lord, when Bobby sang the blues. Feeling good was good enough for me. Good enough for me and Bobby McGee. You got more than you bargained for. I am never going to agree to this format again, ever, ever, ever.
Oh, we got
last
another
question.
request.
Can we do serious? I'm sorry, we should do serious stuff. I should tell you what I'm doing,
I have one last question.
sir.
You came from Europe to be here. Syrian parents, Mexican birth, United States naturalization, all the way to the United States Court of Appeals and now at The Hague. If there were any one message you wanted to leave everybody in this room, what would it be?
Somebody asked me at the lunch the other day whether the fact that I had Syrian parents and I was born in Mexico made a difference in terms of how I saw other people. And I got to thinking about that, and I thought, well, at first your inclination is to say yes because you're used to differences. And then I thought of all the people I know who didn't have Syrian parents or parents from another country and was born in another country, and they too don't see differences. So I don't think it matters that you had all of the experiences that I was lucky enough to have. I think if I had to say anything, I would say I wish that everybody could see and recognize that people are different in many respects, but also the same in so many other respects, and so that they are entitled, notwithstanding their color or their religion or their sexual orientation or their differences of opinion or their political differences, as people deserving of respect. And I know that, I mean, those are words, and it's just so frustrating because everybody says the same thing, but we don't do it. And I don't understand why it doesn't get done. So I would hope that people would respect one another and make sure that neither they nor anybody on either side of them ever treats anybody else unfairly or unjustly or meanly or cruelly, and that we shouldn't have cruelty by people against one another or by governments against people or other countries.
Your Honor, I suspect there are a great many words that come to mind in this audience, but the two that I can think of are thank you.